Alan Palomo, World of Hassle album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this first technical solo album from Alan Palomo of Neon Indian fame. Now, if you are a fan of this channel, you're subscribed here, you will know that Chillwave and the whole Chillwave moment meant a lot to me, and Neon Indian in specific meant a whole lot to me, whether it be their incredibly heavy and completely stoned and just intense psychic chasms, or the very glitzy and catchy era Extraña, or even their 80s chic electro-funk of Vega International High School. Honestly, these albums, they mean a lot to me. They've meant a lot to me. Neon Indian meant a lot to me, and then towards the end, you know, after the Vega International Night School album dropped, I thought they were firing on all cylinders. I was very upset when they decided to take some time off. It has been quite some time. We really haven't heard from Alan much outside of that Toyota Man single that he dropped, which I thought was kind of fun and cute. But this is the album that I've been waiting for quite some time. And leading up to it, Alan has dropped a slew of really fantastic singles. Very 80s-esque, lots of synths. You know what you're getting in for. And honestly, I think he knocked it out of the park with his solo debut. The Wailing Mall starts this album off, and this is just a great intro. It's a little sultry, it's a little mysterious. I love the steamy sax and the patient drumming that we get here. It's a great atmosphere. And if you haven't already guessed by Alan's ridiculous mustache, or this album cover directly ripped out of, I don't know, like a Grand Theft Auto Vice City loading screen, this album is all 80s, baby. And the concept, if you want to call it, behind this album is a little messy and certainly hard to follow. But on this intro track, Alan's incredibly heartfelt performance and dedication to this sound make everything come together much better. It's dramatic, the production is great, the layered vocals are awesome, it's fantastic. Meutrière, on the other hand, does not waste a single second. This track is awesome. It features Flor of L'Imperatrice fame. This track is all big synths, big saxophones, and a much more upbeat sound. It's a lot more instantaneous, but is also just as drenched in the 80s as the rest of this album. And Flor absolutely sounds right at home in between these multiple layered synths. Her vocals are just the sweet, harmonious kick a track like this needs, and I would swear that the saxophone solos just keep getting better and better. La Madrileña, also really great single, probably my favorite single, and I had a lot to choose from. The groove that Alan locks in on here is just so steamy, but it's also super hypnotic. I mean, as far as a synth-pop track goes, this is one of the most instantaneous and genuinely fun I've heard all year. I love Alan's performance on this track too. It's easily one of his most over-the-top and genuinely sexy, and also it's just so inescapable. It is so catchy. We also have Nudista Mundial 89 featuring Mac DeMarco. I struggled not to call this track of the album because this is something to behold. This is a sleazy, weirdo electro-funk tune that is made even more ridiculous with Mac's one-liners. Oh yeah. It's upbeat, it's quirky, it's disturbingly catchy, and of course it comes armed with a Leisure Suite Larry-themed music video. Of course it does. It's one of the most over-the-top moments on this album, but my god is it fun. We also have the return of Milan, and once again, the more conceptual side of this album, good luck with it because I find it kind of rough to dissect. But if you're looking for just another unbearable earworm, look no further than this. I mean, how in the world is almost every hook on this album just so infectious? Good luck not singing this all day. It's smooth, it's bright, it's colorful, neon colored, of course. And as cheesy as it is towards the end, and it gets ridiculously cheesy, I love the voiceover. Oh, for me, this album is just, it's so good. I mean, the few very small blemishes this album have, it's pretty rough. Like Nobody's Woman. And here's the thing, this is the farthest thing from a lyrical or conceptual masterpiece of an album. Don't even start. But this track here is Alan hitting a wall, and I don't really have an issue with a sort of more toned down, steamier, sexier track. He does that later on in the album much better. But lyrically, this track is a disaster. It is a cheesy mess, and let me tell you, this album has been cheesy since the word go, but this is kind of where I draw the line. I mean, especially when you get lines like, I'm nobody and she's nobody's woman. Ugh. A lot of the same problems with Big Night of Heartache. Once again, I don't have an issue with Alan toning his sound down and going for a steamier, more low-key track. Once again, he does it later on in this album much better. This doesn't have the same heart and passion though, and Alan doesn't sound nearly as invested, but this track is not for nothing because at the very least this track has Alan referencing his mustache and how it might not be for everyone. Thank God I wasn't the only one to say it. Outside of that though, if you are looking for a conceptual masterpiece or a lyrical, mind-blowing experience, I wouldn't touch this album. I wouldn't touch this at all. But if you're looking for some sleazy fun with some synth-pop and electro-pop and some synth-wave thrown in, you gotta listen to the album. Stay at Home DJ is probably the most overtly neon Indian track here. It's upbeat, it's light, it's fluffy, very retro still. And you know what? It did take for me a couple of times to really wrap my head around this track. And it's probably the most pop-oriented track here, but man is it catchy. It's a blissfully sweet good time. Club People's really good too. I mean, at this point, just give me all the saxophone you got. It's just another steamy, smoky blast of nostalgia done well. I mean, it's sharp, my friends. Alan's dedication towards this sound. The man has obviously done his homework, but the heart that he shows playing this track, it's commendable. I will say this. This is not my favorite hook on the album. It's actually one of the more forgettable ones, but as a whole, it works just because of Alan's dedication. His charisma as well, and I do really like the sort of quaint, sophisticated finale that we get here. An Alibi for Petra is an awesome interlude. It's completely instrumental, but it is dense and full of mystery, smoky mystery. It's the seedy, sexy underbelly of this album that I didn't even know it had. It's short, it's sweet, it's steamy, it's a no-brainer, it's great. We also get, is there nightlife after death? Thank God Alan asked this question, because I was personally scared too. This is one of the most soulful and laid-back and toned-down tracks here, but it works. I mean, as ridiculous as it gets at times, it genuinely gets emotional, mostly because of Alan's very heartfelt performance. And for a slow jam, look no further than the Island Years. This track is just so warm, almost tropical. The strummed riff is a nice touch, and the woodwinds are great. And Alan here, he's at his steamiest, and that is certainly not overdone because we also get these over-sexualized moans on this track, which I didn't know if we needed, but you know what? I don't hate it. It's the steamiest few minutes here, and that is certainly saying something. Remember the mustache. But for me, it absolutely works. My God, this album is a blast. And Trouble in Mind, as a finale, just a little short interlude to wrap this album up, I think it does just what it needs to. Between the layers of synths and ambient sounds, it's got that great atmosphere. Dare I say, it gets really emotional by the end of it, which I did not expect, but I'm glad that it did. It's a great finale. It just wraps up this album really nicely. This album is a blast, and yeah, this is far from a lyrical or conceptual masterpiece. If you look into the story behind this album or some of the weirder lyrics, you know, you're gonna have a bad time. But if you can put on an album and just have some freaking fun with it, especially in the poppier side of things, especially if you like the whole 80s chic thing, give this album a shot because it's really good. The hooks are great, the production is great, the charisma is here, and the dedication to this sound is nothing short of commendable. Is this album the boldest thing you're going to hear this year? No, but as far as a pop album goes, I genuinely cannot think of much more fun experiences I've had this year, or probably will at this rate. I'm feeling a very strong 8 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.